And here is the pain again. My eternal friend, companion in life. After all, every day is a pain for me. She is ingrained in my essence with a crooked tattoo and, as soon as the opportunity arises, reminds me of her existence. Every day for me is a war not only with the people around me, but also with what is inside. And I'm only 4 years old, I was beaten up again today. And all because I'm a Jinchuriki. How do I know? Yes, my roommate said it himself. Yes, I met my Biju, flashback. Here's another beating and loss of consciousness from pain shock, but this time there was one difference. And it was where I woke up. Usually it was either a hospital or a garbage dump, and I'm in some catacombs right now. It wasn't very comfortable for some reason, but I couldn't figure out why until I realized, I don't feel pain, it just doesn't exist. It was easy for me and, despite the appearance of this place, cozy. I've never felt like this anywhere else. After enjoying this feeling a little more, I felt a mania for one of the corridors. My intuition told me that there was something very valuable there for me. I succumbed to the sensations and moved forward. I walked through these labyrinths as if I had been here all my life. I knew where to go on an intuitive level. After 20 minutes, I went out into the great hall. There is water on the floor, and in a small distance from me there is a giant, red gate sealed with a seal, and here it is again. It's like there's something native behind the gate, some missing part of me. I completely surrendered to this feeling and moved forward. Here I am already a few meters from my goal, when suddenly, on the other side, huge scarlet eyes with a black elongated pupil open. I froze in place, but not out of fear, no. From admiration. These eyes are so beautiful, the scarlet color resembles a ruby, which shimmers very beautifully in the light and radiates a charming mystery. The black elongated pupil makes the look predatory and threatening, but at the same time fascinates with its strangeness. I kept looking at those eyes, it was clear whose they were. I'm not a stupid girl after all. I saw anger and hatred in them, but it was not focused only on me, rather on all people, but these emotions were not the only ones. Deep inside, I saw sadness and pain, the same as mine, but it's much more than mine, but it's true. He is much older, everyone hated him for his strength, for being different from others. They also put him in a cage and demand his strength. I don't know what came over me, but I felt my eyes sting, and then hot trickles on my cheeks. I suddenly took off and, running into the cage, hugged the fox's muzzle. He obviously did not expect this. But almost immediately he wanted to kill me, I felt it, but for some reason he stopped. I didn't look at him, I just cried, hugging and expressing all my feelings in these hugs, understanding, support, sadness, even love and tenderness towards him. I don't know how, but I knew that he understood everything and was even grateful that I don't remember when I fell asleep, but in the morning there were other people's memories in my head, or rather fragments of them. I realized whose they are. I was wildly offended for my neighbor. What I saw cannot be described in words. I was even more disappointed in people, even hated them. How dare they? What did he do to them? I cried for a long time, I didn't even get out of bed, I spent the whole day in it. From the same memories, I found out who I am. Since then, before going to bed, I imagined the fox and mentally sent him my purest emotions. In one day, a miracle happened at all. I imagined the fox again before going to bed, but instead of the catacombs there was an open glade, and he himself was lying under a large cherry blossom tree. And just before I finally fell asleep, I felt a surge of gratitude inside me. It was definitely him. My lips broke into a soft smile of their own, and I fell into the realm of Morpheus and flashback. Oh, yes. I didn't introduce myself, my name is Naruto Uzumaki. Although, almost no one calls me that, preferring to call me demon, brat, etc. P.F. What stupid creatures people are. Instead of a scroll, they see a kunai. I would look at them if they tried to cut the meat with a scroll in which this kunai is sealed. Okay, civilians, they just don't understand it, but shinobi. They must have been hit on the head by one of the Kyuubi's tails. Yeah, almost the whole village. Of course, I understand that they lost people dear to themselves, but I also lost, and it's not my fault, who was just born that day, that a fox was sealed in me. If there was a choice, would have refused right away. But no. I was a fucking baby then. And they just don't want to understand it, they need anti-stress in my face, you see. And it would be fine if they just glared viciously and called names, this can be ignored, so no. They definitely need to beat me at least once a day, throw me into a cliff once a month and try to burn me for every birthday. And what do you think? They always go unpunished. Although every time I am in a serious condition in the hospital, I listen to the confident assurances of the third hokage that everyone will receive punishment, this never happens. I realized for the third time that these were empty words, needed only to bind me to caring, dear grandfather Hiruzen. For this village, I am not a person, but a weapon. And weapons should not be smart, they should be stupid and attached to their owner from childhood. It resembles the Ninken of the Inazuka clan. But I don't want to be a dog in the hands of this rotten village. But now I'm nothing of myself. A small girl who does not possess special physical strength and only a week ago awakened her chakra hearth from a book. Yes, I have brains and I know how to use them, but what's the point if I, purely physically, can't fully implement the ideas of my head? So I'll have to train, and secretly, if I don't want to be eliminated. And it will take time, and quite a lot. I will also have to hide part of my personality. The main thing is not to earn a split, after all, I am quite active and optimistic, which is ideal for a fool mask. Oh. That is, fools. Although stop. You can fake the floor, too. Kunoichi after all be more dangerous than shinobi. That one will simply be killed, but Kunoichi. Br. There's a lot of work to be done. It has been 2 weeks since the day when I became a restless, loud, eternally positive and dreaming of becoming a Hokage boy named Naruto Uzumaki. Honestly. It was outrageously simple. No, seriously. How much should one be, in order not to notice the changed gender of their demon? Even the fucking Hokage. Of course, I understand that I didn't really look like a girl before, and I always cut my hair short, but it's a shame. Although. What am I doing here? It's better for me that they didn't notice the trick. It's easier to be inconspicuous. Oh. Unnoticeable. I should get used to the fact that I'm not a girl anymore, but a boy. So, I have already started to fulfill my ideas for 2 weeks, and it turns out quite well, even well. I especially like to train endurance. And all because I trained her running away from everyday life, several times even from shinobi. What's so funny about that? In general, it's not about the chase itself, but about its source. What do they say there? I did something nasty, my heart is full of joy, that's for sure. Well, as you may have guessed, I specifically went to the practical jokes. What I just didn't do, and he tied the door handles to each shop with glue and ink, and painted houses, and wrote vulgar poems on the walls. But my favorite prank was the one that was on the trading floor a week ago. Its effects are still visible. Hahaha, every time I remember or watch the results, I start laughing until my stomach hurts. Flashback. A normal day for Konoha. The streets are filled with people's hum and laughter. Everywhere sellers are calling buyers, acquaintances who have met are talking, children are running and making noise. Calm and peaceful. But this is just the calm before the storm. Yes, yes. How can the great Naruto Uzumaki leave everything so boring and mundane? That's it. Nothing. And today he had a brilliant idea. Recently, he realized that there are too few bright colors in the village. No, there are, of course, bright clothes, but the people themselves are not so bright. Whether he is the case. Bright, wheat-colored hair and sparkling blue eyes in the light. That's what bright and beautiful means. Not like Uchiha, they have not only that everyone's clothes are in dark shades, but they themselves are all black-eyed brunettes, and brown-haired. No colors. So he decided to fix them at least a little. To be honest, all this is due to the fact that he had been teased before and fiercely criticized his brightness, claiming that he would not become a shinobi. No, he understood that it was petty to take revenge because of this. And he wanted to spit on their opinion and words from the Hokage rock, but it's necessary to match the image. The preparation was really difficult. How much Naruto suffered in order to get everything necessary and think through everything so that they didn't burn down ahead of time. But he could. And today, exactly at noon, he will fulfill his idea. Naruto, sitting on the roof of one of the buildings near the shopping center, impatiently looked at his watch, which he borrowed from one of the caretakers of the shelter. At 1 minute to noon, his eyes shone even more in anticipation of the show. Now the second hand completes the next circle, noon. And Naruto pulls the rope. Boom, small muffled explosions thundered all over the shopping area, followed by a yellow cloud that covered the entire space. For another 5 minutes, the excited and frightened screams of the townspeople were heard. Soon several Konoha police patrol units ran into this cloud. Shinobi, using techniques, dispersed the cloud, and what appeared to everyone, Naruto, seeing the result, exploded into wild laughter and rolled on the roof. And there was something to laugh about, everything. Absolutely everyone who was on the square became blonde. Even the Uchiha sparkled with golden hair. Yes, that yellow fog was nothing but a special hair dye, which, by the way, does not wash off, which affects them exclusively and it is impossible to get rid of it. Do not wash off, do not repaint, only bald or wait for the hair to grow back enough to cut off. It was with her that there was the most trouble. It still doesn't fall from the sky. Although this is already a controversial issue, and flashback, yeah, long and hard, then I had to run away. So far, all the victims are squinting unkindly. Most of all, I don't like agility and evasion training. Well, who would like to have everything thrown at him that came to hand? Yes. You got it right. I annoy the residents, and they throw all sorts of rubbish at me, but I have to dodge. Brrr. How long have I been suffering from the stench of eggs and tomatoes? In general, the plan is in full swing. I am a boy, I train endurance, at the same time I take quiet revenge, agility and evasion. By the way, they have already developed quite a lot, still I don't like to stink. At the same time, it helps with intuition. I do strength exercises and meditate, then accelerating, then slowing down or stopping the chakra altogether, in the morning and before going to bed. I also recently started to train control with a leaf, as they do at the academy. I don't go to it, I just overheard a lecture once while I was hiding from my pursuers. To be honest, it's very difficult. Several times the damn leaf just exploded from an overabundance of chakra. It was really scary when a star almost bloomed in my forehead. By the way, I noticed something recently. If I hug someone, I take away their bad memories, and they are projected in my dreams. I realized this after I saw the bad memories of the old man the third at night, hugging him the day before. But you know, this realization hurt. After all, I get into someone else's life without permission. And I'm ashamed. Not before the third, no. I'm ashamed of the fox in me. I thought it was him who showed me his memories, but it turned out, tears rolled down my cheeks again, and I, curled up on my bed, apologized to him as if in delirium. Something prickled in my chest again, but not mine. I fell silent and listened to the sensations. And here it is again. And some kind of warmth spread through the body. Then the realization came to me, he understands and does not blame, but on the contrary, is grateful and supports. My soul felt calm and warm. I was immediately overwhelmed by all the accumulated fatigue and, already falling asleep, I whispered thank you, step to the left, while tilting your head down. Smooth transition to the sitting position. Upheaval. Stand up again, holding your arms to your chest and lifting your left leg. Set aside the raised leg to the right and smoothly flow onto it. Arms to the sides, as when balancing, legs shoulder-width apart, and the trunk to bend in the back. Phew, almost hit, it passed too close. It's been 3 months since I started hiding. I don't know why I'm counting at all. Okay, whatever. At the moment I'm in the middle of an evasion workout. Today I again provoked the residents in earnest. What just does not fly, a couple of times even knives and plates flew by. Oh. Dango. During the next deflection, I grab a stick with sweetness and quickly, right during the evasion, I eat all 3 balls. Niam sweet. Now I understand Itachi's dependence on this yummy. Getting to know him, to be honest, was awkward. Even embarrassing. Flashback, damn it. What the hell? You're all kidding me. No other way. Why are you doing this to me, Kami-sama? I wonder why I'm so angry. No, don't think about it. In fact, only heredity or, at least, God's jokes are to blame for this. And the thing is that I began to round up in some places. Yeah. At the age of 4, motherfucker. What the fuck are tits at 4? Hello, where is the prudence of my body, and where does it, the question is, take resources for this? What is the problem? Because many girls, on the contrary, are complex due to the fact that the forms are small. But that's the problem, that girls are complex, but I have to be a guy now. Another problem for my poor carcass, and it is from this carcass. Now to do the constrictions. And it's even better to wear clothes that don't fit. Kami-sama, please don't have any more problems like this. Having calmed down more or less, I began to prowl around the room, although it is impossible to call the pantry in which I am kept in the shelter that way. I need cleaner and sweeter rags. Here are the appropriate ones. I grab the rags lying on the highest shelf, hide them under my clothes and run from the shelter to one of the distant landfills. Honestly, I can't imagine this place being used for battles, albeit training ones. Well, judge for yourself. A vast clearing with several trees, flowers everywhere. The grass is so green that one involuntarily remembers those green stones that some rich women wore. Emeralds like. Although, they probably even lose. In the midst of this abundance of green flows a murmuring river. Under the sun's rays, it shines incredibly beautifully. Also, splashing fish, shiny scales, add more life to it. If you go upstream, you can come to a waterfall, not too big, but not small either, that flows into a small lake. This is where I was heading. The weather is too hot today, it would not hurt to swim. It was lucky that they almost never go to this landfill. As far as I remember, it was recently recognized as abandoned. Well, it's only on my hand, they won't see it. After checking the area for the presence of other people's eyes and making sure that I carefully took out and folded the rags already torn into long strips. Then she undressed to her underwear and went into the water. Stepping into the water, she involuntarily shuddered from the temperature drop, but continued to walk on until the water reached her chest. Taking a deep breath, she sank under the water and opened her eyes. I almost exhaled, but pulled myself away from it in time. And there was something to sigh about. A new world has opened up for me under the water. Everything was a pleasant azure color, constantly glistening from the sun's rays penetrating into the water column. For some reason, the fish were not afraid of me, but actively played around, glistening with scales. There were all kinds of things, big, small, voluminous, and flat, and what colors there were not. It's a fascinating sight when they circle around you in some order of their own. Underwater plants, also of different colors, are mysteriously moving at the bottom. I would continue to look at it, but my oxygen supply is not eternal. I noisily surfaced from under the water and began to breathe actively, pushing my slightly overgrown hair out of my eyes. After catching my breath a little, I closed my eyes and, realizing what had just happened, laughed loudly. How nice it is here. Here I am, me. The real one, not that image. He's a part of me, of course, but that's the thing, he's only a part. When I'm in character, I feel like I'm incomplete, which in general is the case. Here I realized that something was wrong. But what? I was thinking, and then I realized, the look, someone was looking at me. I immediately plunged into the water up to my neck and began to look around. And here is my unwanted witness. Not far from the pond, a boy of 8 to 9 years old was standing under one of the trees. Uchiha, this was indicated by his appearance and clothes with the monom of this clan. Yeah, of course. No one will come, abandoned after all. Naive. Well, why did Kami dislike me so much? Are you offended because of insults? I mentally berated myself for being careless while this one looked at me, frozen in place. Anger was growing in me and, apparently, not only mine. Interesting. I asked him with obvious sarcasm. He started up and, blushing, apparently from the realization of the situation, turned away, sorry. He spoke softly with red ears. I laughed from that. His ears reacted immediately and turned even redder. Calming down a little, I got out of the water and began to disguise myself. Bandages on my chest, underwear, t-shirt, shorts and sandals were on me in less than 5 minutes. After getting dressed, I sat down on the grass and began to examine the guest. Black, braided in a low ponytail, long hair, a good physique, but not bulky, rather designed for dexterity. He was dressed in the standard clothes of this clan. I couldn't see any more from behind his back. Yeah. What people have come to in our time, they take and spy on others. Where conscience is only sold. Although she probably ran away herself, she was tired of plowing and getting overtime. I said, propping my cheek with my hand. He turned around and stared at me in surprise, and realizing what I said, guiltily let go of his head. I'm sorry, on one condition. Immediately took everything into his own hands. The boy looked up at me in incomprehension. Forget what you saw, why? He asked, a secret. I replied, narrowing my eyes and smiling. To this he suddenly gathered himself and began to examine me carefully, literally lingering for a moment on the chest, which was not visible. But, noticing my reproachful look, he blushed and looked away. Then understanding flashed in his eyes, and he looked at me again. Honestly, I didn't expect such a tenacious look from a child. It's because you're a girl. Rather than asking, he approved. That's the insight. Wow. That's how you think. Well, didn't you think to turn away as soon as you saw that someone was swimming here? I asked sarcastically. He blushed at this again, but quickly pulled himself together. So not interesting. Once again, I ask you to forgive me. I didn't expect anyone else to be here, so I was confused. I need to take a note, I muttered softly, remembering the idea. They looked at me in bewilderment. Never mind, forget it. But, yes, you're right. I'm asking you to keep it a secret, because I'm a girl, but it's not profitable for me, I understand. He replied. The mask means, so you are familiar with the situation. It's more likely that you have the same situation, or, at least, someone close to you. I state and grin, seeing his face stretched out in amazement. You're not the only one who can think. To this he nods understandingly. Well, let's at least get acquainted. My name is Naruto Uzumaki or Demon Konoha. On the last words, I smile bitterly and look at the interlocutor, Uchiha Itachi. He replied, watching my reaction. I tilted my head to the side, trying to remember a similar name, and remembered, the son of the head and the genius of the Uchiha clan. At the last he barely noticeably grimaced, which I noticed. After all, you're wearing a mask. I nod understandingly and, seeing his confusion, I decide to explain. Your reaction to the words about genius. It seems to be more of a burden to you than a compliment. Well, nothing surprising. After all, a lot is constantly expected of you, and you just can't fail to meet their expectations. Mdaya, the situation is no better than mine. His eyes widened at my thoughts. Well, yes. I hardly expected such an understanding from a 4-year-old. No better than yours? He did not immediately mention to ask, noticing one detail from my monologue. Think about it. I snort at this, but I decide to direct him anyway. I am the weapon of the village. Yes, I know. I immediately say, noticing his shock. Now think about my situation. He thought and disconnected from the world for a few minutes. After a while, he spoke again. Weapons must be obedient, stupid and loyal. That's why you're acting like. Ahem. He interrupts, trying to find a softer expression. Fool. I tell him. Itachi nods guiltily at this. But I don't quite understand why you're pretending to be a boy. PF, and who is easier to live? Shinobi or kunoichi? He looks down at that. Understood. Okay, let's drop the unpleasant topics. I say, coming up and giving the boy a little hug. I can see by his eyes that he sleeps badly. Apparently the missions to the ANBU are not the most pleasant. I know from gossip that he works at ANBU. Well, it's not so hard for me to take away the bad from him. I'm lying, it's very painful and unpleasant, but I can't leave him like this. One as the third after that time younger, burdened him apparently those memories. And no wonder, he has done so many vile things in his life. It's just a nightmare, and for me he was. Take at least his actions in the Second and Third World Wars, brrrr. But you know. Even though I suffered that night, but not in vain. Now this mask of a kind old man seems to me wildly funny and disgusting. Now it's disgusting for me to even be around him, but I have to suppress it. I also learned a lot from these memories. In fact, all the dark deeds of Konoha since the beginning of his reign, the true version of history, and many, many different techniques. That's for sure what I was lucky with. I spent the next day taking notes of everything I saw in great detail. After my actions, the boy clearly felt calmer. We got to talking. In general, that's how we became friends. Later he introduced me to Shursui, or, as I often call him, Mistake. Well, he can't be an Uchiha. Too active, too joyful, too lively. For this, he sometimes takes offense, but he himself understands that he is different. And flashback that I dodge the next shells and glance at the watch in the jewelry store. Exactly 2 o'clock in the afternoon. Well, that's the end of this workout. I do a backflip, run into the alley and leave through a secret passage. They, as it turned out, are all over Konoha, but almost no one knows about them. I learned about them from the memories of old Sarutobi. A convenient thing to say. He deserves his title of professor, which I just didn't get from his memory. I get out already at one of the polygons for a big stone. Out of habit, even on the approach, he began to hide his presence. I look out slightly from behind my hiding place and watch the training of the genin team. This is another part of my routine, to follow the shinobi and remember what is useful to me. Yeah, they train control. Great. And then I'm already a master in the exercise with a leaf. It's time to move on. That's what just happened. How does he do that? Walking on a tree like on the road. I listen to the explanations that their sensei started. Chakra in the legs, but continue to circulate through the body. Stick, the golden mean. A little you won't stick, a lot, you'll break the tree. Well, it's clear. Good training, I need to write it down. I take a pencil and a notebook out of my inner pocket and start writing down my observations, as well as the results of a recent workout. Oh. He said something about the next stage. Damn, I didn't hear it. Ask again, ask again. My wishes were heeded, and one of the genins asked again, and I listened harder, walk on water. My eyes widened a little, yes. But this is much more difficult than walking on vertical surfaces. After all, water, unlike wood, is in constant motion. Therefore, you will need to constantly release the chakra. Jonin answered and then gave the go-ahead to start training. Realizing that there would be no more explanations, I wrote down the new information and put the notebook back. As soon as everything was cleaned up, I climbed back in and went through the familiar tunnels beyond the territory of Konoha, into the forest, where I usually train. After about 5 minutes, I saw the exit. Much better. How nice it would be if I had a choice, to serve or not. Although being a shinobi is honorable and profitable, but there are much more disadvantages. Take at least the fact that ninjas are obliged to listen to all orders from their superiors, or that any mission can end in death, and in fact you have no right to fail it, because then they will despise you. Recall the same Tsukumo Hatake, White Fan Konoha. Shaking my head from unnecessary thoughts, I took out a notebook and carefully read several times about walking in trees. Phew. Well, let's get started. And I started trying to walk on the tree, but as I thought, it's damn difficult. The first few steps were easy, and then it started, then the tree broke, then the legs came unstuck. I'm going to be a living bruise soon. It all lasted about 6 hours. I'm not quite sure, because on the way home I managed to get a little lost in the mazes, but when I got home it was 21:55. After having a snack with what was left of breakfast, I started doing strength exercises, and an hour later I sat down to meditate. Having finished with this, I did water procedures, changed my clothes and went to bed. I already habitually imagine a fox in a clearing with flowers under a tree and a night sky strewn with billions of stars. I send all the bright emotions and feelings and quietly whisper good night. As soon as the words are out of my mouth, I fall into a soothing darkness. I say right away, there will be nothing between Naruto and Itachi. Yes, in context, a little similar, but no. They have a purely friendly relationship. They are best friends, even fraternal sisterly relations are possible, but no more. POV Kurama, hate. How I hate people. How vile, duplicitous, deceitful they are. The world would be a paradise without them. And they also call us demons and monsters, Father. Why did you protect them? Why did you ask us to protect them? They don't deserve it. They don't deserve anything. Then the words of the father about the child of prophecy come to mind. P.F. Fairy tales. How will a person make friends with us? They are completely afraid of us or use us as a weapon. None of them ever thought about ourselves. He didn't take our opinion into account. For them, we are only living weapons. They consider us thoughtless animals, and themselves, an abomination. They imprison us in their own kind, use us, so they also mock the Jinchuriki, although they protect them. I don't understand why. Just like that? Well, yes. These are people. My Jinchuriki were also not sugar. All uzumaki were, and their subconscious is disgusting, as is the seal. Why hang me on a ball, and nail all limbs, including tails, with pins? It's actually unpleasant. And that's putting it mildly. And they were painfully arrogant. Both were throwing speeches about how they would definitely restrain me, such a vile demon, and protect everyone around. With all this, I felt their fear. At the same time, I will have to sit silently and quietly inside. Aha! How did they run away? Sit in the cage yourself. Also, my chakra was constantly used as their own. Scum. And those damn Uchiha. Again. Once again I was being taken under control by those vile eyes. And again they seal me, and into whom? In the baby. The fourth one seals me in his own newborn daughter. Uzumaki again. I don't want to. The attempt to kill the vessel fails. And here I am in a new cage. Looking around. Well, what can I say? The place is SOSO, but it will be a better ball. Yes, and there is entertainment. There was no such thing in the past cells, but here I can observe the life of the vessel. After just a few hours, I was again convinced of the correctness of my attitude towards people. How can this be? And I'm also a demon. Go look in the mirror. How can you treat a child like that? The damn babysitters have already dropped my prison and a bunch of things like that, accidentally, a couple dozen times. So after a while they tried to install the bookmarks, but since I had access to that part of her mind, I destroyed them from the inside. Now they seem to be there and they don't seem to be there. Shell and only. I was completely isolated from the previous vessels, but I'm sure they were also treated. I do not know why I am helping, I just follow my instincts and intuition, which have rarely been wrong, or rather never, yeah. Well, the life of a baby. What's not a day is a bunch of injuries. I'm already tired of patching it up. Well, at least I got caught with my brains. She doesn't climb like her peers. To be honest, I even feel a little sorry for her. So small, and already I have known the whole dark side of the human world. And she's only 4. I'll sleep, perhaps. I don't want to watch these people, I've had enough for a lifetime. I wake up abruptly. And all because of the sound of footsteps on the water. So early? I open my eyes and look at it. Behind the bars, a few meters away, there is a small figure. It is immediately visible, it does not finish. Disheveled blonde hair, like ripe wheat, large light blue eyes, so much like a cloudless sky. Quite a nice appearance, but she is a person, so she is not at all as innocent as her appearance says. Yes, I watched her, but only in fragments, mostly sleeping, replenishing the chakra. Suddenly she takes off and runs to my cage. When I was about to kill her, she hugged me and cried. I broadcast understanding and support. I was taken aback by this. And how was I supposed to react? This is the first time in my memory. Humph. This little one is not like the others. It's worth watching her. His father's words came back to him again. I just grinned at that. It would be nice. Soon the little one quieted down, and then disappeared altogether. Well, girl, have fun with me. After that incident, I began to observe the life of the vessel more closely. And I didn't regret a bit what her pranks were worth. Ha ha ha. I cannot. From just one yellow boom, I roll on the floor. Well, what about it? Uchiha blonde, ha ha ha. In general, the girl amused me. And the disguise is not bad. From a smart and cunning girl, she became a noisy, stupid and annoying kid, which is the most interesting thing. She should have been like that, but I interrupted. So the image went. Yes, she worked out the image so well that she even deserved applause from me. And what? In it, the greatest actor dies. So I also began to train, so much so that it does not cause any suspicions at all. And as a bonus, he plays pranks, and how he plays pranks. She's brilliant. It was necessary to make Uchi Goldilocks, ha ha ha. Also, after her visit to the inner world, the girl began to send me her feelings and emotions, and besides, they are so clean and bright that just, wow. It's nice, damn it. And one day I completely changed the landscape in my subconscious. I even thanked her for that. Damn it, I thanked the man. I was even ashamed, and then this damn tantrum. My Jinchurika has an interesting ability, to take away bad memories from those she hugs. I won't lie, it was unpleasant to realize that my memory was rummaged through, but I understand that it was after that incident that I began to think more purely. After all, hatred can obscure the mind of even creatures like me. No, not like that. Especially for people like me. The girl thought that I had shown her my life myself, but when she realized that this was not the case, she threw a real tantrum. She felt bad because she got into someone else's life without asking. What's funny is that she didn't give a shit about this old man. She was breaking down so much because of me. I was flattered by it. I understand that it's so bad, but I can't help myself. I also have self-esteem. When the realization came that everything was going too far, I sent her understanding and forgiveness. Calmed down and fell asleep, not forgetting to say goodnight. She is still strange, Faha, wow, how angry I was. Well, big deal, the breasts have grown a little. So she will become a beauty in the future. Yes, it interferes with disguise, but it's nice after all. And she found a solution quickly, to do braces. Although it brings discomfort, but it is effective. In his pit, he takes rags and runs somewhere. By the look of it, it's wildly hot outside. From this I conclude that he runs to that lake with a waterfall on an abandoned landfill. After a while, she is already underwater. Habitually I catch her emotions. It's really beautiful. Now I understand Isabu. It's really very beautiful under the water, but the woods are still better, and again 25 vile Uchiha, now they are also spying on the girls. The little one, and don't understand what, the little one is also indignant, but quickly pulls himself together and begins to mock him. And this is something new. Red because of Uchiha's embarrassment. Well, why? No, really, why tell everything to a person you almost don't know? I start to get angry, but then the realization comes, an ally. She needs him as an ally, someone to whom you can express some thoughts and with whom you can just talk without playing roles. And I trusted, because the situation is similar, and the guy has brains. This situation is annoying, and because of his affiliation doubly so. But it remains only to accept. I don't want to get involved with Jinchuriki myself yet. No, why Uchiha? Why did the little one contact them? Although, in fact, as she says, the second one is not too similar to Uchiha. From them, he only has the appearance. I am becoming more and more convinced that my vessel is entertaining, it differs from others, and very much. Yes, and it has developed well in such a short time. An interesting way of training, and very effective, is worth noting. I think we can meet again. I've been thinking about it for some time and, to be honest, I've already decided everything for a long time. I just didn't dare, and there were too many doubts, and POV Kurama, POV Itachi, everyone thinks that being a genius is honorable and good. They think that because you are a genius, then everything is easy for you. PF. How stupid they are. A genius is not a reward, but a punishment worse than torture. They always expect an ideal from you, because you are a genius, therefore everything turns out by itself and immediately perfect. But it's not like that. The very concept of genius should not be, it is rather a predisposition obtained as a result of the addition of various factors. In fact, we are all geniuses, because everyone is good at something. The most important thing is to find what you will succeed at. It is also not enough to have this very predisposition, it must be developed. It is necessary to constantly work, improve. Why does no one want to understand such obvious things? Although. And so it is clear. Simple envy. Yes, envy. The most disgusting thing in a person. People are just looking for an excuse for their poor result, envy those who succeed and blame everything on them. Genius is a burden. The burden that I and my best friend, Shursui Uchiha, have to bear. But he's a little better than mine. I also carry the burden of the heir of the clan. Because of this, it is doubly hard. I didn't have a childhood. At the age of 4, my father took me to the war. At 6 I graduated from the academy. Chunin. Jonin. And now ANBU, I recently joined this elite squad by order of the clan. I am an Uchiha spy. I am Konoha's spy. It all overlaps with each other. The world is already black and red, like Tsukuyomi's world. I'm drowning under the water column. No. Blood. It's all very pressing, it seems that everything is numb. Tears are forbidden, as are any emotions. Heavily. After another dirty task, I decided to clear my thoughts. I went to an abandoned landfill. I want to be alone, in silence. I'm moving fast, I don't want to see anyone at the moment, it's too lousy. After a while I come to the border of the polygon. I slow down to a light step and keep going deeper. To the lake with a waterfall. This is one of those places where you forget about everything. The sound of falling water is already being heard. Involuntarily, I accelerate my pace. Passing by another tree, I stop abruptly, my eyes caught the movement. I notice neatly folded clothes on the shore. Clearly, it's busy here. I involuntarily sigh from the realization. Now I want to leave, as someone comes out of the water. I freeze in place. I disconnect from the outside world that I in front of me, in the lake, a little girl is standing up to her waist. Golden flowing hair, bright blue eyes shining in the sun like the surface of the sea, a cute face with stripes on her cheeks, which gives her a slightly wild look, making her even cuter. Chanterelle. A wide, joyful smile blooms on her lips. The heart involuntarily jumps, the soul becomes lighter, and a soft smile involuntarily stretches on the lips, barely noticeable, but incredibly soft. The look itself clings to the drops of water flowing down the face below. I'm watching. The body is fragile in appearance. Narrow, tan shoulders, sharp collarbones, breasts that have begun to form, a flat tummy. But then my observations are interrupted by a snide question that makes me feel embarrassed and turn away interesting. I do not know what to answer. And at all. What did I just do? I was looking at the girl's body. Sorry. I said softly. She laughed at that, which made me more embarrassed. After just a minute, I heard the splashing of water, and then rustling. Getting dressed. When the rustling stopped, a slight chill ran down my back. Considers. And why is the look so tenacious? Yeah. What people have come to in our time, they take and spy on others. Iya where conscience is only sold. Although she probably ran away herself, she was tired of plowing and getting overtime. She said. What? I turned around and stared at her. What does she mean by that? Then the realization came. Guiltily I lower my head and repeat the apology. I'm sorry, I'm ashamed of myself, on one condition. She said at once. What? Forget what you saw, why? I immediately asked, a secret. She answered, narrowing her eyes and smiling. There's something wrong here, I immediately realized. Then my shinobi nature woke up, and I started scanning my new acquaintance. Short, golden hair sticking out in all directions, big blue eyes, a round face with a mustache, a shabby white t-shirt. I notice one strange detail, there is no breast, although I'm sure I saw it. But a reproachful look makes you feel embarrassed and turn away. I'm thinking, why should I forget what I saw? Her full image pops up in my head, she looks like a boy. Here it is. If I hadn't seen her naked, would have definitely mistaken her for a boy. It's because you're a girl. I jumped out my opinion. There was a flicker of respect in her eyes at that. And again, my chest warmed up a little. Wow. That's how you think. Well, didn't you think to turn away as soon as you saw that someone was swimming here? The girl asked sarcastically. Yes, how much can you embarrass me? Once again, I ask you to forgive me. I didn't expect anyone else to be here, so I was confused. I need to take a note, she muttered softly, highlighting something for herself. I wonder what? Never mind, forget it. But, yes, you're right. I'm asking you to keep it a secret, because I'm a girl, but it's not profitable for me. She said with a bitter laugh, I understand. I replied. The mask means, so you are familiar with the situation, it's more likely that you have the same situation, or, at least, someone close to you. The little girl states and grins, seeing my surprise. You're not the only one who can think. I nod understandingly. Well, let's at least get acquainted. My name is Naruto Uzumaki or Demon Konoha. At the last words, he smiles bitterly and looks at me, Uchiha Itachi. I replied, waiting for her reaction. She tilted her head to the side and thought about my name. After a while, recognition flashed in his eyes, ah. The son of the head and the genius of the Uchiha clan. On the latter, I barely noticeably bend, which she immediately noticed. After all, you're wearing a mask. Nods intelligently and explains. Your reaction to the words about genius. It seems to be more of a burden to you than a compliment. Well, nothing surprising. After all, a lot is constantly expected of you, and you just can't fail to meet their expectations. Mdaya, the situation is no better than mine. For such a revelation, I can only round off the words. Well, imagine a child who explains higher psychology to you on his fingers, no better than yours? I didn't immediately mention to ask, noticing one detail from her monologue, think about it. Snorts, but still gives direction. I am the weapon of the village. Yes, I know. She immediately says. Now think about my situation. I thought about it, immersed in myself. One of the clan meetings involuntarily popped into my head, weapons must be obedient, stupid and loyal. That's why you're acting like. Ahem. I interrupt, trying to find a softer expression, fool. They tell me, and I have to nod in agreement. Still, this is the mildest of all options. But I don't quite understand why you're pretending to be a boy. I decide to explain one detail, PF, and who is easier to live. Shinobi or kunoichi. I immediately lower my eyes to this. Understood. I even saw the consequences. Okay, let's drop the unpleasant topics. She immediately diffuses the situation, and then communication begins, turning into a strong friendship. I never thought that I would find an outlet in a child of Sasuke's age. Naruto was smart beyond her age, could support many topics. She always understands half a word and finds the right words. She's as easy as Sasuke. Later I introduced them at all, which I don't regret at all. Naruto helps both of us, yet I'm not the only one bearing the burden. Although sometimes their attitude to everything and especially each other is annoying, both are constantly teasing each other, and I am terribly often caught up in their jokes and practical jokes. With the appearance of this girl, the world has regained its colors. She is a good friend and comrade, in which Sasuke agrees with me. With her, all the problems don't seem so unsolvable. As she once said, everything has weaknesses, whether it's technology, life situation, or even personality. The most important thing is to determine them correctly, and nothing will be difficult. She always seems to speak in riddles, but when the time comes, these riddles are the solution to everything. Everything has become much easier to transfer. It will be interesting for me to watch her, Naruto Uzumaki, and POV Itachi, October 10. How much is in this date? It was on this day 5 years ago that Kubi attacked. It was on this day that a huge number of residents of Konoha and the 4th Hokage died. Morning. The Kubi festival, as well as my birthday and monster hunt. The most terrible time for me. Every year after the festival, the hunt for me begins. Citizens, shinobi, and ANBU, everyone is hunting me. It's the same this year. I've been trying to break away for an hour, but it's not for nothing that there are shinobi among them. I just don't have time to hide in the mazes. This day has not been set since the morning. At 4 o'clock in the morning I woke up due to lack of air and cold. They tied me up and threw me into the river. I was drowning. I have no idea how they pulled me out without waking me up. I was able to nip the panic in the bud and started thinking fast. The plan of action immediately lined up in my head, and I immediately begin to implement it. I disperse the chakra through my body, tear the ropes and float up, but immediately dive back. Several kunai and shurikens whistled over my head. We have to swim quickly to the opposite shore. I grope the shore and quickly come up, immediately running away into the depths of the forest. I have to make it to the entrance to the labyrinths, but apparently Kami-sama decided to make fun of me again. Various projectiles fly by, but the body is already dodging everything automatically, although several shurikens still reached my forearm. I understand that it would be too stupid to get into the secret ways with the pursuers. I have to run further. Without realizing how, I ran out into the streets of Konoha. I loop around corners, run around obstacles and at the same time dodge projectiles, although not very successfully. And so it has been for an hour. Despite the training, the body cannot withstand such loads. The legs ache and bend, the lungs burn, everything becomes cloudy in the eyes, there is a hum and heartbeat in the ears. And the injuries inflicted do not improve the situation. Pain. My friend. To be honest, I can't imagine my life without pain anymore. Even in training, I train until my whole body aches. Don't get me wrong, I'm not a masochist, I'm just used to. I can't even sleep if I don't feel this aching feeling in all my muscles. But despite all this, I don't like pain. Especially the pain that someone has caused me. It makes me feel weak and helpless. I turn the next corner, a dead end. I stop on the spot. I'm so used to mazes that I've forgotten the layout of the village a little, which will certainly need to be fixed. I'm thinking how to get out, and the training held yesterday pops up in my head. I immediately take off and run to the wall, letting the chakra into my legs. Step, second, third, and the foot slides. Too many emotions, and the skill has not yet been brought to automatism. I break down and, without having time to group, fall on my back. My head and back explode with sharp pain, which makes me involuntarily cry out. Through the veil I hear footsteps and laughter. I curl up into a ball, covering especially important places. And it begins. The whole body is covered with many foci of pain. The body is numb. There's a taste of iron in my mouth, another blow, and a bloody cough bursts out of my throat. Bad. Very bad. I feel rage inside. Not his own, but a fox. He is angry at my weakness, at the attackers and, at himself. His chest involuntarily becomes warm. I'm not losing consciousness. I'm not even starting, my head is clean and cold. I remember. I remember everything, from the faces and appearance, to the racks in the crowd of shinobi. Here the eye clings to the hands of one chunin, he folds the seals, which are immediately imprinted in my memory. Awareness comes. He wants to use a technique on me. I'm starting to panic, but there's nothing I can do. People disperse abruptly, a medium-sized fireball is flying in my direction from that chunin. My head is empty, no ideas. Suddenly intuition howls like a siren, and I, yielding to an impulse, hit with all available force, clenching my teeth, with a bloody palm on a stone near the wall. A small passage opens under the wall itself, into which I immediately jump. I was covered by a fireball from prying eyes, so no one saw my machinations. As soon as I realized I was safe, I switched off, the subconscious that I open my eyes abruptly and jump to my feet, which I immediately regret. My head is spinning, and I involuntarily kneel down, clutching my head and whining softly. There was no need to get up so abruptly. You're not in the best condition, said a deep voice with growling notes. I immediately look up, trying to find its source. I involuntarily freeze from what I saw. In front of me there is a huge clearing with many flowers, billions of bright stars in the sky, and in the very center there is a huge blooming sakura, under which he lies. At the sight of the fox, my soul felt warm, a soft smile blossomed on my lips, and my eyes were filled with tenderness. All this time he was looking at me, studying me, and apparently did not expect what he saw. All the bad things faded into the background for me. I got up and headed in his direction. Already a few meters away from him, I said, "It's good to see you again." I admit that I didn't recognize my voice. Instead of being loud and annoying like fire, it became soft and warm like a spring breeze. There was too much tenderness in him, which caused an involuntary blush to creep onto his cheeks. You don't have to be dead to get here, you bald monkey. Tailed commented sarcastically, and you're furry here, then? Although it's already obvious, I replied to the tease. But immediately gathering myself, I decided to ask. And how to get here, huh? It's just meditation, you silly little thing. Oh, okay, the insult is counted, listen. And what's your name, PF? As if I'd tell you. He mocked me. I just frowned at this, like a mouse on a croup, but an all-in-one place did not allow me to do it for a long time. Then I'll guess, haha. Well, try it. Well, I'll try. There was a minute's silence, during which this fox grinned maliciously. After thinking about it, I decided to list the facts I know about him. 9. Red, fox. We get, Q, Shkoga, aka Kitsune. And how to make a name out of it. The fox just laughed at my attempts. Well, never mind, I can, you'll see. How about Genko, black fox? Or are you Byako, white fox? Although what am I talking about? You're a redhead, aren't you? Well, at least you know how to use the gyrus. The fox inserted his 5 kopecks envy silently. I caught him, he just smiled condescendingly at that. Maybe Koryo, fox inhabiting people? Kuko, the aerial fox. Or Tenko, the divine fox. Although this is also not suitable, that's for sure. Although Tenko is an interesting option, maybe Jinko, male fox. Or not. Rather Shako, red fox. Ha ha ha. The 9-tailed man exploded with laughter. Well, damn, I was a little upset, but immediately slapped myself on the cheeks and looked straight into the eyes of the fox. I'll know your name anyway. P.F. Go ahead. His eyes were full of malice and amusement. He obviously likes to watch me, rather over my attempts. There would be a sofa here. As if by magic, a piece of furniture appeared next to me. I looked at him like a sheep at a new gate, and the fox burst out laughing again. I blushed because of a misunderstanding of the situation, feeling like a complete fool, and only sniffed resentfully, looking at the tailed one. Haha. It's your subconscious, isn't it? Ha ha ha. Realization slowly came to me, and it only made me blush more. But she was able to suppress the urge to hide her face in her hands and sat down on the sofa with an important look, to which the fox laughed even harder. I don't remember how long I spent in the subconscious, but it was fun. After the fox stopped laughing, we started talking. It's interesting to talk to him. His point of view is special. I was really interested in listening to him. Later we started playing it all, first cards, then backgammon, and then we got to shogi. He won almost everything, but it was informative. I don't know why, but the fox explained my mistakes and suggested ways to solve them. It was also nice when he praised my unpredictability. Oh, yes. At the very beginning, it turned out that it can change its size, so we didn't have to puzzle over the size difference issues. And he does it by changing the density of his chakra. Also, throughout this time, I kept trying to guess his name that I lost track of time. It's time for you. I have treated the body, but for the sake of cover, you should still be at home, and not in the maze. The old macaque will come in the morning. The tailed one suddenly said. I couldn't help feeling sad. I don't want to leave. The fox apparently noticed it and understood it correctly. When you meditate, imagine this place. At first I didn't understand, but after thinking about it, I caught a hint. Because of the realization, the lips themselves stretched into a joyful smile. I will definitely come soon. And I'll know your name. I shouted before disappearing. I'll be waiting. The fox said into the void, not trying to hide his smile. She's really an interesting person, and the subconscious that I woke up in the same place where I passed out. Having got my bearings from my memories, I headed home by the back streets. Approaching the tedious exit, I listened. Quietly. You can go out. Quickly getting out and closing the door behind her, she ran into the house. It's going to be scary to sleep here, but I'm already used to it. Grabbing a pillow and a blanket, I ran to the bathroom, the only room that locks and has a strong door. Having done everything before going to bed, I spread myself on the floor and, after checking whether everything was closed, went to bed. Well, I didn't forget my ritual. It will be necessary to arrange with the monkey tomorrow. It was with this thought that I fell asleep. I woke up early. The sun hasn't even risen yet. Why so early? It's simple, an old macaque will come to me, and my house is in ruins. Oh, how tired it is already, for the umpteenth time in these year and a half. Oh, right. He. I forgot to mention that. So, a month after the performance began, I was kicked out of the orphanage. They just took it and threw it out the gate. For a whole week I had to survive on the streets, until it dawned on the hokage that I, it turns out, needed to be given a house, and the means to live. And what kind of house? Yes, an apartment in a dormitory from the time of the first, which may collapse in the next 2 years. There's only one room and a kitchen, so I still can't make it clean and cozy because of my image. I have to live in a pigsty and eat custard ramen every day. No, of course I love ramen, but not custard and not in such quantities. That's why I often get out into the woods. By the way, about that week. After all, I spent it all in the slums. Yes, there is such a place in the village, and, one might say, I became my own, even acquired some authority. But I was there in a mask and hood, otherwise I would have been killed in the first few minutes. After all, many people have fallen to such a level because of the fox attack. As for authority, I now have my own nickname, a pure demon. Oh, how many laughs I heard then. Well, do not forget about the headache caused by the fox's uncontrollable laughter and caustic comments. They called me that directly because of my behavior. I helped many people, but at the same time, if someone behaved too lousy, I could ruin my reputation in a couple of hours, even if that someone was a big shot. Well, it won't save the situation from scabies powder and erotic drawings all over the slums, and then, this is only for the easily guilty. It was worse when they crossed the boundaries of what was permissible. Then a strong aphrodisiac went into action, so strong that a person loses his mind for a while, another equally guilty, and a camera. You can imagine the outcome. Yes, cruelly, but effectively, after 3 such cases, most settled down, although some individuals remained, but not on long. I also became quite famous among gambling houses, well, brothels. No, you don't think. I didn't go there for that. I was just a bear for tears, and a personal psychologist, not only for those working in a brothel, but also for everyone living in the slums. In general, it was because of this that many called me a pure demon. As it turned out, I have a talent in this area. The fox still laughs and calls my activity Naruto therapy. As for gambling houses, they call me a thief of luck there. Well, what can I do if the right cards always fall into my hands, the right number is always in the dice, and the right color or even number is in roulette? They even wanted to kick me out of there so as not to go bankrupt. But thanks Shinigami, we were able to come to an agreement. I come once a week and win a small amount for living, and at competitions I represent Konoha in this area. By the way, I keep the winnings for myself. Although, in fact, I keep only 5% for myself, the rest goes to slum construction. Competitions, by the way, are an interesting event. One player is sent from each gambling house network. Free players can come, but no more than 15, and everyone plays to the last. The sums there are huge. I was only on 2, but I won a couple of billion ri. As a result, I have 10 million, and the slums look like quite an ordinary Konoha district. And you also say, a little authority. Yes, you are almost considered a god in these slums. How many homeless people have you given a house to? How many entrepreneurs have you given advice? And what about the mafias who have become a local body of order? The fox screamed in my head, oh. Are you awake? You're thinking too loud, PF. Thanks for the compliment. I answered him. He snorted at that, but there was amusement in it. Listen, I think I overslept one moment. Where did you get these drawings? Do you have an accomplice? No, I have no accomplices. Then from where? Is everyone there asking for similar portraits? I don't know, maybe they do, but I haven't seen this, In fact, I drew it, ho. Is Uzumaki's talent really showing? The fox muttered and thought, Uzumaki's talent? Vulgar pictures to draw or something, ha ha ha, he burst out laughing. Not really. Remember what this clan was famous for? Well, Fuinjutsu, exactly. And for this art, calligraphy skills are important. And most often, to improve its quality, members of the clan were engaged in drawing. I want to note that there were separate painting lessons at their academy. How do you know all this? When I was in the previous Jinchuriki, I often looked through their memories just so as not to die of boredom. That's how it is. But since you can view the container's memories, why did you ask about the drawings? Wouldn't it have been easier to look at my memory, huh? I can't look at your memory. This seal is stronger than the previous ones. I'm sorry, forget it. And in general, how could you draw such a thing in such detail? What is it? He asked, and I'm sure the fox's eyes narrowed dangerously now. Oops, ahem, oh. Look at the time. The old man will come soon, and I don't have any noodle packs on the floor. Having said that, I started pulling out new packs from under the bed and pouring boiling water on them. And after the passage of 3 minutes, he quickly ate and threw empty ones on the floor. And how do you eat this stuff? Where does this opinion come from? You haven't eaten, have you? I felt it through your receptors. And I'll tell you straight out, the trash is unbelievable, the meat is better, and the fish is tastier for you. But how so? Why can you feel the same as I do, but you can't drip in my head? What a stupid Jinchuriki I have, the nine-tail wines, I mean. He called himself smart recently. I take back the words about your mind. Yes, what's wrong? Try to reboot your brain. Feelings and memories are connected, but not the same thing. You yourself tore off a piece from the seal in the feelings area. Ah. Oh, head against the wall or between the legs for such an interesting exchange. I did not notice how the whole floor was strewn with packs of ramen. Walking to the front door, he turned around and assessed the situation. Well, in a word, a dump. The whole floor is in the trash. There is a teapot and a custard ramen on the table. There is no window and the bed is made. Oops. I quickly approach the bed and start jumping on it. 2 minutes later I jump off, while doing a somersault and landing on the threshold. I look around again and nod contentedly. Design a la Naruto is ready. And it was at this moment that there was a knock on my den. I'm running. I shout, changing my voice. I take off and intentionally stumble several times. Hello, old man. I shout again, opening the door. Hi, Naruto. He says in a grandfather's tone and smiles. I can barely contain my laughter and nervous trembling. I know what this person is like. Come in. I open the door wide open and, running in, I scatter the packs on the sides, making a path to the table. How I want to get out of here and live as I wish. No, not like that. I will wish it myself. So why did you come back after the gambling tournaments? I would live somewhere for myself. It's not that simple, I answered mentally. A lot of people would want you. The hunt would begin. And I'm still too weak to stand up for myself. But in the future I will definitely find a place where I can breathe calmly. And no one will find us with you. I think. I will also help other Jinchuriki and their Biju. This is a promise, and my nindo is to never give up and always keep my word. Kurama. What? My name is Kurama, remember, Kurama. Beautiful name. I said mentally and smiled sincerely. That was the end of our dialogue, and I focused on the monkey. How are you doing, Naruto-kun? They asked me, not paying any attention to the trash. Aha. Everything's fine, GG. Only. I'm a little short of money. Imagine. These sellers take and raise prices, at this point I think theatrically and start fingering my fingers. And as if finding the answer, I put forward 3 fingers and shout at the whole house. 3 times, Databeo, that's how it is. Well, I'll make you a small allowance, only this is our secret, you know, yes. I promise to keep quiet. I am Naruto Uzumaki, and I always keep my word. I shout, inside insidiously rubbing my paws. You look, GG. Very soon I will become the strongest and take your hat. At this, the macaque only laughed at such a statement. And the chicken inside is just rolling with laughter. Kurama, stop it, my head hurts. And this, by the way, prevents you from playing. I ask him, it's still not very pleasant when such a carcass tumbles inside, ahaha. Sorry. I cannot. A great actor is dying in you, Naru. Encore. Encore. Ha ha ha. I can barely restrain myself from laughing at this. GG. And when to the academy? I can't wait anymore, Naruto-kun. The academy starts at the age of 8, so you'll have to wait 3 years, but it's a long time. Why not now? Naruto-kun, do you know the main quality of any shinobi? No. And what is the quality? I'm sure I have it. Shinobi should be patient, my boy. Therefore, consider these 3 years a training of patience. They tried to brainwash me for about half an hour, and then, finally, they left my mortal carcass. Damn it, I'm so tired, and it's not even 10 o'clock yet. Aren't you late for anything? Kurama suddenly asked. I tilted my head at this in thought. And where can I be late? Suddenly, the gaze clings to the green blanket. Damn it. I'm late for Kin-san. I take off from my seat, take out my hooded sweatshirt and half-face mask from under the pillow and, quickly getting dressed, run to the slums. I have a meeting scheduled for today with the head of the White Moon, one of the mafias that monitor law and order in the slums. Kanashi Hoda, or, as many call her, Kin-san. A former kunoichi of the Hunin rank, retired due to an injury sustained during the war. Before her, the group was led by her husband, but after his death during a fox attack, she became the head. Despite her injury, she remains a formidable opponent, but they only know about it in these places. As I heard, one day she, without leaving the place, dealt with the raging group of the Black Kun at that time. But the group consisted of large and quite experienced men. We had quite friendly relations with her, although it didn't start very pleasantly. She tried to kill me because I dishonored her son. He took and hung pictures everywhere, as he kisses his, as I understood, best friend. Oh, it was a good workout then. I dodged, and hid, and ran. But then everything went back to normal with her when she found out the reason for my action. She then beat her son almost to death. You see, he tried to rape a girl about 10 years old, although, as it turned out later, she was not a girl at all, but a 25-year-old woman, and the girl of the guy who cheated on him. Here he is when he found out and snapped a little. But I still did the wrong thing, so I deserved what I got. After that incident, we began to communicate. And so she made an appointment for me, and I'm late. I just fly into the streets of the slums and run at all speed available to me to the headquarters of the White Moon. I can already see the building. Just before the doors I stop and, having recovered my breath, enter. As soon as I cross the threshold, I am already being squeezed in a vice, mistakenly called an embrace. Naru, I thought you forgot about the meeting. Kin-san said, continuing to squeeze me. Yes, my identity is already known to everyone. Accidentally threw off his disguise during the escape after another prank. Honestly, I thought I would be immediately attacked and killed by a crowd. But no. I was accepted. Although there were several personalities, they were quickly brought to reason. Amazing fact, the people living here in the slums, where chaos reigned, are more human than those who live happily ever after. Everyone here sympathized with me, they understood that I was having a harder time than them, some even said that they began to consider me part of the family. Oh, how many tears there were then. But despite the fact that everyone knows who I am, I continue to wear a disguise, and I continue to be called by a nickname, only abbreviated, Demon. But don't compare this nickname with what they call me in the rest of the village. Here it goes like an affectionate address, and it describes my character too well. Kin, strangle me. I croak, trying to inhale oxygen. Oh. Hee, I'm sorry. She said, smiling guiltily and letting me go. Can you finally tell me why you called me? I immediately got down to business after catching my breath. After all, I still have a workout. Again, you get right to the point. Well, that's exactly one of your most attractive features. She began, but I interrupted her, keen. Okay. Let's go to the office, and we'll talk there. As we walked to the second floor to her office, many people greeted me and tried to start a conversation, but as soon as they saw where we were going, they retreated. Smart guys, they know when not to interfere. 5 minutes later we were entering a fairly spacious office. The decor was not distinguished by sophistication. Everything was simple, but tasteful. A desk, 2 sofas, and several cabinets and chairs. There were also 2 interesting interior details. There were plants everywhere and portraits of all members of the group hung on the walls. I want to replace all of my authorship, as indicated by the name Nina, in the corner of each. This is my pseudonym. We settled down on opposite sofas. I'm listening, I said as I sat down. All my attention was focused on the interlocutor. I need your advice, she began, but was interrupted again. Advice? From me? Which one of us is a Hunin? Who is a participant in the war? Who is the head of one of the powerful mafias? Which one of us is an adult after all? I need the advice of our Naruto therapist. By the way, yes, it seems everyone in this place was bitten by a chicken, because everyone started calling me that way. The problem is in the relationship between the black rose and the golden toad. I squeezed the bridge of my nose wearily at this statement. What did they not share again? Not again, but again. Don't you want to go with pink hair? I asked, glaring at her angrily. And no. I like my color, by the way. Keen looked very attractive. A rather tall woman with good forms and strict facial features. But her main features were green, like young grass, hair and amber eyes. I want to note that hair means a lot to her. That's why she takes care of them, then explain the situation normally. I barked at her, which made her back involuntarily tighten like a string. The heads of both groups found the same girl attractive. She reported. I just laughed. So all the problems are because of one girl? Ha. For another 3 minutes I could not calm down. When the laughter died down, I decided to ask. Well, who is our thief of hearts? Mimoto Tamaki Mi-chan. But she's married. At this, Keen's eyes widened, and when the whole situation came to us, the office shook with laughter. Later, after chatting a little more and discussing the latest news, we went with the would-be lovers and explained the situation. Well, to prevent this from happening again, we helped to draw up some contracts. For another hour and a half, I was rushing around the entire territory of the slums, helping everyone I could. And finally, freedom, yeah, of course. Go to training. My Jinchuriki has to be the strongest, understand? At this statement, my head fell, and I trudged to the entrance to the maze. It is necessary to train chakra control. The first thought that came to me when I realized that I was sitting next to Kurama and watching the life of my body, split personality, exactly what I was wary of when starting the game. Well, my fears were confirmed. And what is most offensive, there were prerequisites. Now, thinking about everything, I realized that lately quite often the body acted on autopilot. And here's a gift for me. I created myself a Naruto who took control of the body. Although, it is worth noting that it is not complete. I became a kind of intuition of an energetic blonde. I can, so to speak, influence him with the help of emotional messages. Tell me, is your ass a magnet for trouble? My neighbor asked me now for sure, don't pour salt on the wound, it's better to help solve the problem. I said wearily, leaning against the red side. How to solve the problem with disguise. And, how to become whole again, Well, everything is not so difficult with the unification. All you need is for your body and particle to fall into a state of deep meditation opposite the waterfall. The fox began to help, but I interrupted him, wait. But don't you need a special waterfall? And wouldn't my 3 parts collide then? Don't interrupt. Kurama growled at me, which made me shut up. The waterfall of truth is needed to fight with your bad emotions. For a simple unification of a stratified personality, an ordinary one is also suitable. Now shove all your questions away and let me think. The fox was silent for a while, and I also thought about the question of disguise. But I didn't have to think for a long time. Kurama spoke again. How about a fixed transformation? I noticed that Mito and Kushina had a special henge due to the large amount of chakra invested, and the presence of mine. It turned out to be material, that is, they were transformed. Only they themselves did not notice this fact. Therefore, you must apply this technique, and I can do the fixing. And don't look at me like I'm an idiot. The body has not completely detached itself from you, so when that consciousness is asleep, you will be able to take it under control and apply it. HAA. How problematic it is. Okay. The seal seems to have been in the memories, huh? Well, at least something. Suddenly it clicked in my head, because of one crazy thought, a slight panic began. Wait a minute. And what about Ida and Sure? And what's wrong with these Uchiha? Kurama asked with obvious irritation. If the body is controlled by the personality of the idiot Naruto, then how will I communicate with them? And if the orange starts sticking to them, thereby betraying our communication? The clan already has problems after your attack, and if the residents see that the red-eyed Jinchuriki communicate, I'm even afraid to imagine the consequences. And I don't want to lose my friends and our communication. I clearly broke through, because I was beginning to see all the consequences of this situation. But what about the tournaments and the quarter? There, without me, everything can go again between the buns of the top of the village. With training in the end, what to do? Calm down. The fox interrupted my hysteria, a familiar situation. Well, did I get a problem for the Jinchuriki? At this point, he comically raised his head up, which made me laugh. Did you listen to me at all? I told you that when that part of you is disconnected, the body will be under your control. That is, at night it's your time. You can do everything, hang out with the crazy ones, and do the business of the quarter, which, by the way, you always did at night, except for a few cases. As for training, I think he will do the main exercises himself, yet you did them in the orange mode. I want to note that his memories will be limited. Namely, he will remember only everything done using his piece of personality. So you don't have to worry that this shard will ruin all your achievements because of its stupidity. At this statement, an extremely snide, downright cheesy grin blossomed on the fox's face, which made his teeth ache. I could not answer it, yet I myself understand that the shard is a shard that I could not take at least a peace of mind. Although, the practical jokes should be extremely thoughtful, wait, Kurama. Won't I overload my body without giving it a proper rest? Look, if the orange will constantly run and train during the day, and I will do a lot of things at night, then there will be no rest at all. The solution is not so difficult. All you need to do is take the shell through the night and, be sure, when there is control, eat well. So I can use the chakra to restore the body and it will have the necessary resources for this feat? Do you think the splinter will eat only ramen? I don't think, but I know. I'm starting to regret creating this mask, so, you are definitely a fool. As if the Ninetales stated the fact. Why? If not for this mask, all these problems would not be now. I was immediately indignant. If it wasn't for this mask, I would now have another vessel, and experiments would be performed on your body. Kurama said with a certain laziness, sitting comfortably on the grass. A herd of goosebumps ran down my back, and I remembered the original reason for creating the Naruto Fool. I forgot. From this understanding, a nasty taste was felt on the tip of the tongue. Stop already here, because of your self-delving, the clouds are closing the sun, and I want to sleep in the rays rather than in puddles. I almost choked with indignation at this statement, but the bad thoughts clearly receded. Suppressing my indignation, I could only smile gently. I got up from my seat and, passing through the grass, small for Kurama, climbed on his tail and, having settled down comfortably, fell into the world of Morpheus. Except that instead of dreaming, I watched the adventures of Orange. Now I understand why the fox so often laughed at the whole subconscious. It's funny to watch these adventures from the side. When the orange fell asleep, I woke up. I woke up already in the body. After thinking everything over quickly, I got into the memories I received and almost immediately found the data I needed. Henge seals. Only 3. Dogbore concentration. Mentally I pushed the fox, judging by the lack of questions, he understood what was what. Before applying, I concentrate on Itachi's memories, going over all his bathing procedures, after bloody missions or with those who are dead. I feel my cheeks heating up. I realize that I won't be able to look the boys in the eye for at least a week, but I immediately throw away my left thoughts. I remember diligently the look and feel of the boy's body. As soon as I catch harmony, I quickly fold the hand seal and start the chakra. The body is enveloped in a pleasant warmth, although occasionally I feel unpleasant tingling. And then a sharp prick in the area of the Kurama seal. My knees give way, I sink to the floor and hold back tears and screams. It hurts like hell. Suddenly it was over. That's just, it was and it wasn't. Damn, I hissed through my teeth. You could have warned me, I forgot. You forgot, but it hurts me. P.F. But now there is a fixed, literally indestructible material illusion on your body. Proudly came from the subconscious. And anyway, go warn everyone you need about the new circumstances. And don't stop me from sleeping. I was stunned by this, but I threw it away for a while and ran to notify. The first thing I did was run directly to the block. My demonic luck has helped me again, because today is the night of the meeting of all significant people. As soon as I ran up to the building, I was attacked. Hey. Shun, you'll kill me. And I have an important matter. As soon as I spoke, the attack stopped. Ho finally found out, and Naruto. Surprisingly synchronously they said. Well, yes. I didn't wear the usual clothes for them. Yes, I am. Let the guys in. It's really urgent. They immediately opened the doors, and I flew into the building. Running through familiar turns, I quickly reached the assembly hall. Having stopped and regained my breath, I knock and enter without waiting for an answer. Silence, it was she who met me, Naru-chan. 3 synchronized female voices broke the silence, and it came to me that there was catastrophically little air, and the ones who hugged me were the ones who shouted. One of them was an acquaintance of Kin-san. The second was Shan-san. Beautiful brunette with golden eyes. Her forms are average, but her voice is angelic, only her foul-mouthed language spoils the whole feeling. Except that in my presence she tries to control herself. In the quarter, she is responsible for food supplies. To be honest, it was difficult to negotiate with her. In general, she agreed only because I promised to help with accounting and negotiations, and, allowed myself to be squeezed, for 3 hours of hell once a week. The third was Loli. White-haired Loli with black eyes. But don't judge her by her sweetness, Fumika-san is extremely cruel. BRR. It still gives me the creeps after watching one interrogation under her leadership, then I thought I would die from the spectacle. In the quarter, as you might guess, she is responsible for the information network and information extraction. While I was struggling for a grain of oxygen, the others also got up from the table. There were 8 people in the room, including me. 5 of those present were responsible for maintaining order. They are the heads of the largest groups. Kin-san is responsible for the White Moon, Noku-san for the Black Rose, Runo-san for the Golden Toad, Jin-san is responsible for the Lycoris, and Kashi-san for the Rusty Kunai. Noku-san. Nokumo Senkei is the head of the Black Rose gang, consisting mainly of brunettes, but this is not the main common feature of its members. What unites everyone in it is the element of Doton and a damn good command of close combat. They are the local police. Noku-san is a very stubborn and straightforward person. Has a large build, prefers clothes of an earthy shade. His face looks severe, especially it highlights a severe scar running diagonally across his face, although, I'll tell you a secret, Noku-san has the nature of a bear. It looks like a mountain, but it's actually plush. The eternal rival of Noku-san, they are constantly fighting, is the Homa Fleece. The perfect opposite of the first. Tall, thin, and handsome. An aristocrat, a rat, as Noku-san says. He looks like the kindest person, especially because of the eternal smile on his face. He has been managing the Golden Toad group for 9 years. The group is famous for the skills of top-level traders. They are responsible for all important supply contracts, except for food, per quarter. Runo-san prefers black clothes with embroidery on the back. She has long brown hair and lilac eyes that are always squinted in a smile. But do not be deceived by his kind appearance, he is still a hem. In general, Noku-san has not gone so far from a full description. Runo-san is a born politician, well, a merchant. He says that understanding about the fuck comes only after a few days, and his hands are painfully dexterous. It can undress so imperceptibly that you will notice only because of a breeze, or, at least, by the reaction of others. I have observed this phenomenon myself. Then, by the way, Runo-san demonstrated his skills on Noku-san. Heh! How many obscenities and laughter were there then? The next big shot, the head of the Lycoris group, is Jin-san. Honestly, if I hadn't known him, I would never have thought that he was an important figure. He looks strikingly normal. A typical civilian from the slums. Ha! I don't envy those who really perceived him as such. Jin-san is a master of illusions, as are the people from his gang. All members are dressed as civilians. Lycoris is responsible for protecting the boundaries of the quarter from unwanted guests. They superimpose damn realistic genjutsu on the walls, the road, and even the inhabitants of the slums so that not belonging to this place saw everything as it was before. But the illusions were not only super detailed, but also multilevel. In general, it was thanks to this gang that no one outside this area knew about its changes. The last person I have not described in this room is Kensha Race, or just Kashi-san. An elderly man of about 48 years old. Short stature, gray hair and wrinkles, but strikingly sharp eyes. After all, he is a veteran of 2 shinobi wars. This person is the head of the Rusty Kunai. The name of the group describes its members extremely well. They are all former shinobi, either retired due to injuries, or those from whom the top got rid. This group is responsible for education, and their studies cover all possible areas: basic education, education of spies, saboteurs, fighters, natural disasters, poison makers, politicians, merchants, doctors, and many others. The same group is also responsible for local hospitals. From the above, it can be understood that all the people here are the pillars of the good life of people from the slums. Strangle. I then will not convey important information. I croaked, to which I was immediately released, after which I coughed. What is your terrible method of killing me? And as for me, this is the most pleasant death, muttered Noku-san, to which the other men in the room nodded imperceptibly, even Runo-san. Ahem, I reminded myself. All the attention was focused on me again. Let's sit down. Everyone nodded at this and settled down in their seats. So, first of all, I apologize for interrupting the meeting. Let's get straight to the point, Naruto. In his own manner, Noku-san said, for which he received a slap on the head from Kin-san. Okay. I have a problem, an extremely unpleasant one, I want to note. As you all know, I wear a full mask outside the block. Well, this mask came out sideways to me. Split personality? Kashi-san interrupted me, already realizing where everything was going. That's right. I nod and continue. My personality is stratified into 2 parts, Naruto the Fool and directly me. Before you interrupt me, let me explain the nuances. Firstly, during the day the body will be under the control of the explosive orange, but as soon as that consciousness turns off, the body will come under my control. Secondly, the split is not irreversible. To unite, I just need a waterfall and a state of deep meditation. But, as you can understand, the unification is useless now, because I will still use the mask and the split will happen again. Therefore, for now everything will remain like this. Every second night I will take over, so as not to overload my carcass. Do you want no one from the quarter to contact you during the daytime? Jin-sen asked a reasonable question. If possible, I would like you, Jin-san, to impose on me a seasonal illusion with a short interval, namely a 2-day-long one. Can you offend? He said, his eyes flashing. But I think it would be better if I put the genjutsu directly on, as you put it, the explosive orange dot. I support Jin. Kashi-san said and continued. As for the residents of the quarter, my people will warn everyone. To be honest, I don't quite understand why you need this mask. Naruto, you would definitely live better if you were yourself. You would become a genius of the village, and many doors would open to you. Noku-san said, scratching his head. HAA. Sometimes I wonder how his gang remains so united and strong, judging by the views of the others. I am not alone in my thoughts, you know, Nokumo. I never cease to be surprised by your build-up. The muscles even replaced the remnants of the brain. Runo-san drawled, his eyes glittering nastily, and he did it obviously intentionally. After all, as a trader, he can masterfully manage his emotions. What are you implying, rat? Noku-san started to get mad. Calm down. Interrupted all conflicts at the root of Kin-san. Nokumo, Narukun created a mask for his safety. Don't forget that he is a weapon for the village. And, as you might guess, the weapon should be blunt, so that it follows all orders implicitly. If he shows his smart nature, he will either be eliminated for security purposes, while reprinting the cube, or they will bookmark him, and his mask will become the only person of the body. Do you get it now, you idiot? Runo-san, stop it already. I said, sighing wearily. Better tell me, did you get in touch with the wave? Naturally. My people have made good deals with this country. I admit that I did not expect such a variety of goods, and the guys say that the merchants there are also be healthy, ha. Did someone really put yours with cancer? Ha ha ha. If yes, then I will go and kiss the hands of these people. Nokumo burst out laughing. Pf, if I kissed the hands of everyone who put your cancer, I would have wiped my lips in blood a long time ago. Verbal diarrhea began, but I decided to interrupt it this time. Noku-san, Runo-san, my singing voice rang through the room. At this time, I took out from under my jacket a bundle of sheets of paper fastened with a thick thread, and a piece of coal. Did you really decide to please the quarter with a 69 pose? A heavy silence hung in the room at this statement. After a quick glance around everyone, I got the expected result. Nokumo and Fleece are white as sheets in my hand, and the rest are grinning and barely holding back laughter. Apparently they presented a similar picture. En Naruto, en not en necessary. I promised to keep myself in our hands. Stammered Noku-san. Runo-san just nodded in confirmation of his words. Heh. You draw anyway. There will be material for blackmail, the fox commented from the depths of his subconscious, causing a grin on his face, which was instantly hidden by me. Although, blowing on the winks of some, they understood Kurama's idea and supported it by asking for a copy. I nod imperceptibly and asked the next important question. Then, for about an hour, we discussed business. The heads of the Black Rose and Golden Toad were strangely silent. Okay, bye, everyone. I have a few more people to warn, so I ran. Having said that, I went to our training ground with the Uchiha. The goddess of luck did not let me down again, because when I ran to the right place, I found friends sparring. They immediately noticed my arrival and, stopping, approached. Hi, Naruto, hey, Naru, hi, Ita, a mistake. I said, smiling. Shursui pouted resentfully at my greeting and turned away. Kun, are you really offended? I asked, lowering my head and turning on the acting mode. A few drops immediately fell from the tip of his nose. The wrong Uchiha panicked and began to apologize while Itachi stood aside, smiling and barely holding back laughter. Okay, I forgive you this time. I said, grinning. Phew. Shursui immediately exhaled as a wave of understanding passed over his face and a slight indignation flashed in his eyes. Hey! Why am I apologizing in the end? It just dawned on him. At this, my joint laughter with Itachi spread across the clearing. By the way, Naruto, why are you out so late? It's not safe, and you yourself should understand this perfectly well. He asked when we were all already seated by the river bank. Oh. Precisely. I didn't just come, do I really have to confess my love? Shursui cried out, comically recoiling and grabbing his jacket in the area of the heart. No. I said indifferently, in all the traditions of the Uchi. At this statement, his head fell. Kun, let's not joke now. It's really unpleasant. For this, both my friends focused all their attention on me. Ha! I have a split personality now. The mask came out sideways. Now in the daytime my body will be under the control of the orange addict. I can take a carcass under my control only when that person is disabled, mostly at night and then only every second. Otherwise, the carcass will burn out. Is it possible to reunite your personality? Itachi asked a reasonable question. Yes. She nodded, but now it's just not profitable for you, right? Shursui summed up everything, earning a second nod. Clearly. What about your training? The main orange will perform out of habit. As for the rest, I will do it myself when I get control. By the way, you don't have to worry about the behavior towards you. For the Naruto fool, our friendship never existed. For him, you are just another black-eyed guy with a stick in his ass. Ha ha ha, the perfect description of this clan, ha ha ha. This is my Jinchuriki. Ha ha ha. The Ninetail laughed at the whole subconscious, causing a headache. That's the opinion, of course. Then we just chatted. At dawn, Shursui, with the help of Shunshin, quietly took me home, where I fell on the bed. I already reflexively send emotions to Kurama and switch off with the phrase, "Sweet dreams." I was sitting on the shore of the lake again, listening to the sound of falling water. I am already 8 years old. It's amazing how fast time goes. It seems like yesterday I started cutting my hair and smearing my face in mud, just to be considered a boy. I recently met 2 members of the Uchiha clan and the strongest tailed beast, and I already go to the Shinobi Academy and am known throughout the village as the last dead of the current generation of shinobi and the most abnormal joker of the village hidden in the foliage. My thoughts are interrupted by the rustling sound of Shunshin. Shursui. He quietly, unhurriedly sits down next to him and also silently looks at the lake reflecting the starry sky. There's silence between us. For months now, the guys have been incredibly thoughtful and gloomy, and I know why. I know, but I've never notified you about it until this day. Itachi sits down on the other side of me. He came again very quietly. Shursui can also, but doesn't want to. He likes it when his friends immediately find out about his presence. In this way he expresses his support and protection. Out of the corner of my eye, I notice how the guys look back and barely nod. P.F. Naruto. Itachi breaks today's silence for the first time. We need help. His voice is heavy, strained and tired. It's immediately clear that he doesn't want to involve me, but he understands that my help is needed. But neither of the two dares to admit what the matter is. Afraid. They are afraid of betrayal on an instinctive level, although they understand that they can trust anyone, but me. A sigh involuntarily escapes from my mouth, and I finally break the silence I know about the planned coup. My voice is quiet, but in this silence it is incredibly loud and clear. The boys start and look at me in surprise. I keep looking at the reflection of the starry sky and the moon. From where? Shursui asks in a whisper, peering into my face, hoping, apparently, to get an answer immediately. But I'm silent, and the guys are just straining harder. Tired of it, with this thought, I lean back and look at the real sky, and not at the reflection. And, it's definitely better. Guys fall after me. What exactly do you want from me? What kind of help do you expect from an 8-year-old girl? Although you were smart to come to me. Still, I know a lot, and I can work with my head, but still, or, do you need not my help, but his? The one who is sealed in me? Such words burn the tongue with bitterness, but there is a place to be. It pains me to admit it, but I'm not strong enough to help suppress such strong people. Watching the faces of my friends, I saw a lot. Denial, sadness, loss, pain, resentment, the lights of hope that are gradually smoldering. No. I do not know, Itachi began, but at the last words his voice cracked, and barely noticeable streams of tears began to flow from his eyes. Peering into his eyes, I saw how gradually those embers faded away, and the look itself turned glassy. Unable to restrain the impulse, I hug him, pressing my head to his grown chest and stroking. I look up and cross paths with Shursui. A smile appears on my lips, through a lot of emotions, and I lure him to me with swings of my brush. He immediately appears next to me, and I press his head to me as well. We are all silent. And why words in such a situation? Exactly, without noticing it, we changed the position. I was sitting with my back against a tree, and the guys were lying on the grass next to me so that their heads were on my lap. My group stroked their heads, twisted their hair, sometimes slightly pulling. I didn't want to break the hormone, but it was necessary. Still, time is not rubber. I learned about the preparations for the coup thanks to my spy network, although I don't think it's worth calling it that. I knew about this problem from the very beginning. Why didn't you tell us? Shursui asked in a hushed voice. I didn't see the point. You wouldn't have let me interfere at that time, so I waited, and if we hadn't asked for help, I would soon have pinned you to the wall, pf. Haha. In your repertoire, Itachi laughed hoarsely. After that, we fell back into silence. Thoughts were swirling in my head like smoke. How to save the Uchiha clan. I know what thoughts are spinning in the head of an old macaque. He will probably decide to get rid of the clan, and with the hands of his own representative and leaving one survivor, the look involuntarily hooked on Itachi. Damn it, it fell from my lips, which is why all the attention focused on me. Itachi, the macaque didn't offer you anything, did she? My friend twitched at my words and looked away. Damn, destroy everyone except Sasuke, right? Both of them jerked at this and looked at me dumbfounded, and Shursui also looked at Ida. Oh, from where? I know this old man better than yours, and I will say that this is expected. What? K how so? And you remember who is his sensei and best friend? That's right, the Yukikan haters. He has been undermining the influence of the clans for a long time. Think about the number of clan losses in the Second and Third Wars. Yes, the clans were sent to the very hell like meat. From Senzu, only Tsunade remained, who, accidentally, got injured, because of which she will not be able to have children. And the recent case with Hugo? Why were Kumo's messengers so poorly monitored that they even infiltrated the estate of a noble clan and stole the heiress? And how could people from another village know the plan of such a protected estate and Hinata's appearance? It is clear as day that Hiruzen wants to weaken the influence of the clans and strengthen his influence by helping the clansless. At my words, the guys turned pale, then on the contrary blushed and clenched their fists. Are you saying that the third one wants, cut out your clan, thereby threatening others with your example? Oh. And, most likely, he will leave only Sasuke alive and, due to hatred for Itachi, who will be ordered to cut out the Uchiha, will get himself a faithful Sharingan bearer. Itachi involuntarily turned on his eyes for this, but immediately turned them off and closed them. How do we save the Uchiha, Naruto? He asked in a whisper and looked up at the sky. Well, there is one thought, and began to explain her idea. We sat there for quite a long time. And finally, we got the desired working version. Well, now. We need to explain everything to the clan. Call a meeting and take me to it. Why take you there, Shursui? You're so slow sometimes, by God, I completely agree with Naruto. Hey. He shouted indignantly, but we just ignore him. I'll come for you in 2 days at night. The kid said, giving me his hand, and the truth is already blossoming. Okay. And he took me home, where I immediately fell into the subconscious, and a Pilsen woke up. Kurama, you heard everything, didn't you? Yeah. He drawled sleepily. Although I don't understand why to save these rats, Kurama. Okay, what do you need from me? Do you want to crush their quarter a little? Oh well, finally a good offer. I'm in business, you do understand that there will be no real Uchiha there? And this. Will you help to impose a fixed transformation on the corpses, Gur? You know how to spoil the mood. But so be it, if you win 3 times in shogi, I will help. a gambler. I mutter softly on the nose, I hear everything, baby, that was the calculation, go to your corner already and let me sleep, okiyashiki, I sang and went under a small cherry blossom tree that was on the very edge of the clearing. Walking over and sitting down comfortably, she presented sheets of paper and a few pieces of coal. It was possible, of course, to imagine pencils, but it's already more familiar to me. Having sorted the resulting pebbles by size and approximate thickness of the lines being drawn, I took the thinnest and began to draw. The line then flowed across the sheet, flowing into different shapes, then abruptly broke off and was applied with sharp movements, then immediately smeared. All the lines intersected, creating a kind of bond, and, once you pull one of them, everything connected into an unimaginable knot, which is in the end a drawing. To be honest, drawing has become a substitute for meditation for me. Usually it is meditation that calms and cleanses the mind, but for me it is a state of drawing. All my feelings, impressions, worries, absolutely everything is imprinted on the drawings. While drawing, the concept of time is lost, because there is only you and a piece of paper on which the imprint from the soul will later be displayed. And now I've lost track of time. Hey, snot. Have you decided to get lost in your papers at all? The rumbling voice of a fox interrupted my state. Tearing my eyes away from another portrait of some shinobi, I looked around. Again, I was so immersed in myself that I didn't notice how a mountain of sheets of paper had accumulated around me. What only they did not have: portraits, and still lives, and landscapes, and just paintings. I sigh heavily and imagine how all the sheets take off and freeze in the air, as at exhibitions. Several clones appear next to me, the technique of which I just imagined from Hiruzen's memories, but I don't own it yet. We start sorting with a friendly gulba. The fox is just silent, because he understands that it is useless to touch me now, and sometimes even has consequences. Hey, boss. Come here. One of the clones responds and I go to him. What is it? To my question, they show me with their hand the drawings hanging in the air. After looking closely, I choke on the air. That's the imprint of thoughts, of course. And there was something to see. 5 drawings stood out against the general background. Do you think it's because we raised the possibility of such a thing? Most likely. The first drawing depicted Shusui's battle with Shimura Danzo and his route, Anbu. Namely, the moment was depicted when Danzo appears out of thin air behind the back of a young Uchiha and reaches for his eye, while the guy almost falls off his feet. I don't know why, but there is a feeling that he is poisoned. The 3 of us are already standing on the second one, me, Itachi and Shursui without eyes. What is noteworthy is that Shursui rather stumbles back, right into the cliff with the waterfall, and Itachi and I are far away and only break away from the place. I notice 2 small details. There is a smile on Shursui's lips, and dark tears come from Itachi's eyes when the eyes themselves change. The next piece of paper showed the Hokage's office. The old man, as always, was sitting at the table with his hat on and a frown on his face. He was flanked by 3 counselors with the same frowning faces. And in front of them, on the carpet, Itachi was bent over with an Anbu mask on his belt and desperate eyes. Everything was in black and white, but I could clearly see the sunset, the bloody sunset, standing behind the old senile people. The 4th drawing makes you recoil. Uchiha Quarter. But not full of life, as I glimpsed, but soaked in death. Instead of joyful people, there are only corpses with their necks cut. And on a pole, in the middle of the block, sits a familiar silhouette. Itachi. Unless, there's a silhouette behind him? Yes, that's right. A man disappearing into a funnel with a hidden face. But, who is he? The last strange sheet shows a room. At one end of it there are 2 dead bodies, and my friend without a mask is standing over them, and a familiar boy is sitting in the other. Sasuke. I see fear, pain, misunderstanding and hatred. Those black eyes that sparkle in several drawings on the right while Itachi is carrying him on his back are now glassy and filled with terrible hatred. Looking at the older of the brothers, you can see how his figure bent a little and was soaked with guilt and wild pain. I stand closer and abruptly snatch all 5 sheets out of the air. Please continue to work. I'm going to see Kurama. I say in a slightly hoarse voice to the clones gathered around and head to my tailed friend. Kurama. Explain, please. I don't understand anything, I ask him, laying out drawings on the grass in front of me. At my request, the fox shrinks and comes closer, carefully peering at each leaf. Not a single emotion slipped on his muzzle, and then he looked up at me with a stern look. Don't you dare tell anyone about this. But what is it? This? This is your manifestation of the Uzumaki clan's blood. And what does this mean, HAA? The Uzumaki clan is a very ancient clan with a rich history and, for such a huge period of time, its blood has become a treasure trove of abilities. Yes, the main talent of the clan was Fuinjutsu, but this is only the smallest part of the awakened blood. If you think about it, then your very blood is Kekkeigenkai. Every member of your family awakens its main feature by the age of 8, and maybe more than one. For example, your mother, like Mito Uzumaki, owned a special chakra that had the property of symbiosis with a poisonous chakra, like mine. But she also possessed the ability to materialize chains from the chakra, Kongo Fusa. Some representatives, as I remember from Mito's memoirs, could interact directly with the elements, without any seals there, and some even saw the dead and could contact them. Your peculiarity, it seems, is that by drawing, you can predict a possible future, at least it seems so to me, and perhaps this is due to your other ability, namely, to take away bad memories. I was sitting in frustration. I certainly didn't expect anything like this, and there was no such information in the memories of the old macaque. All that was there about Uzumaki was their abnormal vitality, endurance, chakra volumes and Fuinjutsu, but not like that. Are you saying that maybe things will turn out like this? I asked, trembling and pointing to the spread out drawings. The fox somehow sighed heavily. Yes, but, here he grinned impudently. You're not going to let that happen, are you? A flower of confidence bloomed in my chest. Of course, by the way. Aren't you going to the Uchi meeting to go? I mean, in Karamisal, you fool. Today is already the day of the meeting. You don't keep track of your drawing at all. Go, he barked, throwing me into the body. I moaned, sitting down and stretching my body. How sometimes I want to get out of the village, by God. Knock knock. When I heard the knock, I got up and went to the window, where Shursui was waiting for me. Whoa. Where did this Apilson manage to break his head like that? The guy immediately asked, and I just now felt a wild discomfort on my forehead and tightening of the skin on my face caused by clotted blood. I asked, returning to the bathroom and starting to rinse my face, while Shursui was preparing bandages and ointment from his pouch. As soon as I more or less washed up, they grabbed my face and began to gently wipe it, and then completely bandage my head. Everything was done in absolute silence, and they took me first to the complex and then to the head's house also in silence. There was no point in us talking now, all the attention was focused on the upcoming meeting. Even just standing next to the building, one could feel the heavy atmosphere. Naruto, my friend muttered worriedly, but stopped when he looked into his eyes. I'm not scared and I'm sure I can at least make the Uchiha doubt. After standing for a while longer, he nodded and knocked on the door. The atmosphere has deteriorated a little. A beautiful woman opened the door for us, but there was no time to look at her. Oh, Shursui-kun, and... She suddenly broke off. He's with me, Mikoto-san. All right, come on in. Everyone has already gathered, she said, stepping aside. We went inside and immediately heard a lot of voices. A barrier? I'll go ahead, Naruto. Shursui said and, receiving my nod, went to the light for Mikoto. I took a deep breath. Don't worry, I'm with you. The rumbling voice of my friend came from the depths of my consciousness. Thank you, Kurama. Get ready to take off the henge. Decided to open up, I have no other choice. They should see not a stupid naive child, but me, the heiress of 2 great shinobi, a great clan and the bearer of the strongest tailed beast. Okay. A quieter answer came, filling me with confidence. With another sigh, I headed forward. With each step, my back straightened more and more, my arms found their rightful place in a standing position and my shoulders straightened. The steps also changed, they became silent, soft and smooth. And here I am at the edge of the light, but I keep going forward until I stand in the middle of the room. Hands stand in the seal of concentration and I say Kai. The eye-cutting orange suit is replaced by a black kimono with white dandelions at the hem and a white obi belt. Short disheveled hair is replaced by a long thick braid, facial features are softened, and the figure is framed in the right places. All this happens in a fraction of a second, and now I'm already in my appearance bowing in proclamation. Uzumaki Namikaze Naruto welcomes the council of the great Uchiha clan. There is silence in the room. Everyone was tense even before my arrival, but now this tension cannot be described in any censored words. Fugaku Uchiha, greet you, Uzumaki Namikaze-san. May I ask what purpose you have come for? The man sitting right in front of me interrupted the silence, getting up. Good evening, Fugaku-sama. I came here to save your clan from extermination. At my words, an unimaginable noise rose in the room. Quiet. The man silenced everyone. Explain your statement, Naruto-san, or we will take it as a threat. Don't get me wrong, please. But before I start explaining, could you please activate your dojutsu in order to be sure of the veracity of my statements? I asked with another bow. It's not for nothing that I learned clan etiquette from Kin-san. At my words, the head talked with, apparently, the elders, and, nodding, activated the Sharingan. You see, Fugaku-sama, recently my acquaintances who do not belong to the Uchiha brought to me the fact that your clan intends to stage a coup to seize power in Konohagakure no Sato. Well, since ordinary people found out about it, then, for sure, the top of the village also knows. Don't think about it, I am well aware of your reasons and understand them perfectly, but I also know perfectly well what the ruling elite of the village is like. What do you mean by that? Hiruzen Sarutobi is already old and not as strong as before, so he will hold his power in slightly different ways than the first Hokage. There is no question of any agreements. Only force and threats. Well, how to pacify the clans that have begun to rise? Right. To show that he has the power to destroy them by someone else's example. And who is better suited for this role than the strongest clan of the village? My words had an effect. The room immediately became unbearably noisy. And I heard more and more often, we must rise up. Unable to stand it, I laughed, which silenced the whole room. Do you really think that this is your decision? Think about it. Think carefully. The police, small losses in the Third War compared to other clans, an attack by a Kubi with a Sharingan in his eyes, an order not to interfere, relocation to the border and spreading a bunch of gossip. It is clear that it is precisely the attempts of a coup that are expected of you. Most likely, a plan has been drawn up for a long time to cut out the clan, and your actions will only trigger the mechanism. And what? Are you suggesting we put up with all this? Came from the back of the room. Shut up. Fugaku suddenly shouted. What do you suggest, head? Will you really listen to this little one? She must have been sent by the Hokage. And it is in it that the Kubi is sealed, because of which they began to oppress us. Fugaku-sama said to be silent. The man standing next to the head of the blazed with bloodlust. If you haven't noticed, everyone in the village thinks she's a boy, and she immediately revealed herself. And her last name doesn't mean anything to you? The girl in front of us is the daughter of Yondaime Hokage, Minato Namikaze, and Bloody Habanero, Kushina Uzumaki. Everyone here was familiar with them and knew about their connection. And you still think that the daughter of such great people will stoop to such an extent? And at the very beginning, she asked to use our dojutsu on her in order to avoid lying. Naruto-san, are you related to the third Hokage? He asked suggestively, and everyone in the room activated the Sharingan. I don't have a trusting relationship with him, Uchiha-sama. The maximum connection we have is watching me, and trying to impose a grandfather's image. Although I actively pretend that he is one of the most important people for me. I replied. Apparently, my answer satisfied everyone, since almost all the eyes were replaced by the usual black ones. Naruto-san, I repeat, what do you suggest we do? Give them what they want. The room turned sharply cold at my statement, and all the eyes turned scarlet again. Explain, the Uchiha clan will no longer be in Konoha. It will be destroyed by the crazy genius of the clan, Uchiha Itachi, and then burned in a black flame. Are you suggesting to arrange our murder and burn down the block so that it can't be refuted? Exactly, Fugaku-sama, but why should the clan destroy Itachi? Why not someone else? Shisui, for example, because Shisui's death must be arranged immediately. I am sure that they will get rid of him first of all, and therefore we must get ahead of them. That's just, what? Sasuke will have to leave in the village. Why? It's cold, to the point of trembling in the knees, the head of the clan asked, because the old senile people know perfectly well that Itachi will not be able to kill him in any condition, but on the contrary, will do everything to protect him. And I think it would be better to explain everything to him, or he will become a puppet in their hands. How and where to withdraw the clan unnoticed? You can withdraw through the catacombs under the village, and take away, into the whirlpool. Came from the old Uchiha, also sitting behind Fukage-sama. I remember where the teleportation array is installed, so we don't have to go through huge distances. Is this by any chance the massif that is between two rocks on the road to the Valley of Completion? It came out of my mouth before I knew it. And before my eyes was a huge slab covered with earth with engraved symbols. Ho? Do you know where it is? The same old Uchiha who stood up for me asked with interest. A couple of weeks ago, when I was studying the mazes, I got out next to it. Only until now I didn't know what it was for, so there is a way to get there underground? Fukage-sama asked thoughtfully. Yes, okay. But it's worth working out the plan better. He said without listening to objections. The council lasted a long time. At the end the body needed rest, and therefore I was constantly disconnected, but I remember the end clearly. Great. Tomorrow Shisui Uchiha will die on a mission, and 3 days later, at midnight, the clan will follow him. All this time, he will hide in the catacombs, and Naruto will guide us. Start packing quietly and don't say anything to anyone. We continue to portray preparations for the uprising to the public. Itachi, inform the third that the coup is scheduled, as planned, in 3 months, on the night of the blood moon. We're splitting up. After that, in a half-asleep state, I put the henge back with the help of Kurama, briefly cheered up from the pain, and then completely passed out. What a difficult people Uchiha is. This is the end.